Hey guys, this is Devon from NineftUnder, and I am here to give you guys some Patreon updates. First of all, what I would like to talk about is our Patreon goal. That would be that currently we have our goal set for $300 a month. I'm trying to save up to buy a new sewing machine. Mine is about 10, 12 years old, I believe. I got it when I was quite young, and unfortunately it is starting to have a little bit of trouble, having some mechanical issues. I'm having to start sewing by hand in certain parts where I would normally be able to use my machine, so I definitely need an upgrade at this point. Also, the $300 a month also goes to supplies, so that I'll be able to stock my store on Etsy. Unfortunately, cost of materials has gotten exponentially and just jacked up the past few years. Everything in the hobby stores, whether it be Hobby Lobby, Michael's, any AC Moore, any craft store, has gotten a lot expensive in the past few years because it's considered like a luxury or something. So it's taxed. It's either taxed differently, or it's just, it's either in America the cost of things have gone up, and that's overall. So yeah, that's our goal currently is $300 a month. We're also working on funding our 3D printing props, which I'm going to be showing the majority, if not all, of our 3D printing projects on Patreon. That way you guys can have the in-depth look, first access in case we start creating our own designs. That way you guys will be able to have the links to them, all that kind of thing. Let me see. So 3D printing props, sculpting, wig making, mold making, polymer clay props, making extra parts for BJDs, like things that are either missing, mods, things of that nature, BJD piercings and mods, etc., and more content for our videos. Now I'm going to go into the tiers that we have set up currently. We had to rework the whole system, so we basically had the same tier system since we started. So we really wanted to rework that since we got a little bit of feedback from Chaos World the other day. We've been asking repeatedly on Patreon and on Instagram for feedback, and to be perfectly honest, we haven't got a whole lot of response every time we've made a post being like, hey, what kind of videos would you guys be interested in? What kind of, anytime we've done a poll or something, we haven't got a whole lot of feedback. So we've been trying to, we've basically been having to find out what you guys are interested in so that we can make the patron tiers more tailored towards you and what will actually be beneficial for you. So I'm going to start off with the first one, which is the $1 tier cane. And this will give you access to Patreon-only content, for example, behind-the-scenes photos and our longer photo stories. So obviously we're going to have some photo stories on Instagram, but we also want to have longer, more in-depth photo stories, maybe with more, detail, different things, maybe some behind-the-scenes photos at the end of it. We're going to be putting those on Patreon. That way you guys will have exclusive access to that. You'll also get early access to photos of our progress, for example, like sewing updates, 3D printer test prints, face-ups, wig updates. Also, 3D printer-related posts and updates will be a Patreon-only thing. So yeah, basically what I already described earlier. Also, Patreon-only polls. So basically, polls where I set it up on Patreon, like, hey, are you guys interested in seeing more videos of this nature or this nature, and I can like describe different things, or be like, hey, what would you be more interested in? Then you guys will be able to vote on it, and I'll know more of what I'll be able to make as far as content goes that you'll actually be interested in. That way I'm not just making videos blindly trying to guess what you guys will actually like. Also, you guys, any patron from the $1 tier forward is going to get a thank you and our end credits on all of our YouTube videos. You also get early access to videos a week before they're on YouTube, other than Instagram-related videos and patron update videos, which are going to be on YouTube because it's necessary. That way, everyone who's possibly considering being a patron will be able to see what they'd actually be getting or what will be new to Patreon. Also, you will have access to our basic live stream hangouts. Alright, let's see. And next we're going to go on to our $5 tier, which is the Able tier. With this one, you'll get early access to character art plus information on our characters and characters that are not yet shelled. And that would include like their sculpts, their art style, name ideas. One of the reasons we wanted to do this was because some of the people that we were, that were obviously looking at our page, when we would post things on Instagram, it seemed like every time we would post things in advance, if we didn't have, if we were not able to shell the characters in time, or if we were not able to afford, to make the mods in time, another individual would miraculously end up with the exact thing we were trying to do. So we're trying to keep that for patrons, that way people who are actually interested in what we're doing, that way it's not just people who are either trolls, which we've encountered a lot on Twitch, or people that are just trying to steal other people's ideas, to be honest. So that's at the $5 tier. Also, this will give you access to patron-only character videos. We're going to have video made for each of our dolls, talking about basically about who they are, their style, who they're based on in real life, if they're based on a real person, and a lot of their like more detailed information. That way you can get to know them as individuals. Also, this will give you early access to photo updates of our doll room, new doll room props, Patreon-only tutorials, which includes, for example, Bowie's polymer clay tutorials, and ear mods, different like minor modifications, and clay tutorials. Let me see. This tier, the $5 tier, will also give you access to our Not Safe for Work posts. So if you're interested in some of our Not Safe for Work stories or photo stories, if you're going for the $5 tier, then you'll have access to that. Whereas if you're, just wanting to donate, but you're not necessarily interested in seeing anything that may or may not be not safe for work, we have the $1 tier. Let me see. Let's go on to the next one, and that's going to be the zombie tier, and that is the $10 a month. With this one, you will get a 9ft_under prop and or accessory every month. These are random BJD items that are sized for 60 to 75 centimeter dolls. Because that is the general range in which we have dolls, so we're able to proportion them correctly for you. You'll get at least 2 or more items, obviously depending on their size and detail. Polymer clay props, accessories, or 3D printed items, just to give you an example of some of the things that might be in there. Plus all of the previous rewards of the previous tiers. Now let's move on to the $15 a month, which is, it's labeled Devon's exclusive content. With this one, it's going to give you access to my Patreon-only videos and live streams, my Patreon-only wig tutorials, like motorcycle repainting, mods, custom prop painting, etc. So basically, anything that I want to be able to stream. I was doing this on Twitch for a while. The reason that I stopped doing it on Twitch was because we had way too many trolls in the chat. We ended up trying to record them and then post them on YouTube later and Patreon later, but unfortunately there were just so many trolls in the chat, like asking way too just inappropriate questions or personal information about me and Ash or our dolls or something. So we really wanted to make it to where the people that have access to be able to converse with us and be able to actually like chat with us, and that I can interact with, if they have questions about mods or anything that I'm doing, are people who are legitimately fans and people that want to know how to make things. So it's not just going to be a bunch of trolls. So that's why I put this at the $15 tier, because in the past I've had people, subscribe to like lower tiers, and it's just for the sole purpose of trolling. So that's why we put it at that tier. It's not to be dickish or anything to any other Patreon tiers. It's just because we've had bad experiences in the past, and we just really want to know that people are serious if we're going to give them this detailed information. So that in the chat, I'm not just going to be harassed the whole time, that people are actually asking questions about what I'm doing or about other mods that I have done in the past. That way it's like focused on what the channel is supposed to be about, basically. So yeah, it's going to be like a Q&A, personal questions, live hangouts while I'm working on projects, and doing bike mods or doll mods, chats about makeup, body mods, etc., and also our doll dress-up streams and videos. And the reason why we're doing that is because on YouTube, Instagram, and certain other platforms, you're not actually allowed to have dolling nudity at this point in time, which I understand to a certain extent, but at the same time, you know, they obviously have a lot of regulations and strict guidelines in regards to nudity to protect children. So we're focusing that on Patreon, where everyone can be age approved, so that won't be an issue at all. Plus, obviously, all of your previous rewards from that tier, and that was the $15 tier. Next, I'm going to move on to the Calypso tier, which is our $25 a month. We have 5 slots open. This one is you get a 9ftUnder standard BJD clothing item sent to you every month, which, like, just for an example, it'd be like a plain hoodie or with a pocket, or like a skirt, pajama pants, something that's not like extremely intricately detailed, but something that, you know, is a quality 9ftUnder item. Clothing will fit 65 centimeter to 75 centimeter dolls, because that's what we have the ability to tailor fit for. Also, let us know if you're in one of the tiers where we're making clothing for you. Let us know, just send us a message in Patreon what size dolls you have, that way, and what gender they are. That way I'll know what to make for you. That way it's customized for your personal dolls. And if you have an Instagram, you can also link that to me. That way I can see what style they have. That way I can maybe tailor it to their personality or something. You know, I want to make it customized to you guys as much as I can. However, I can't make it like fully customized. I'll be like, oh yeah, you guys get customized stuff every time, because obviously that's going to be like way too complicated, and I only have certain, you know, things I have the ability to create. And obviously with the Calypso tier, you also get all of your previous rewards from previous tiers. And then our last tier, that's going to be our $100 tier. Now this is the exclusive 9ftUnder fashion tier, and with this one you get an exclusive 9ftUnder fashion item. For example, I'm just going to give you an example here using Jack, and maybe Chris, I might also show you his jacket. Now sometimes I make some of these items and they go up for sale and they disappear really quickly, and I want you guys to be able to have access to things that otherwise, you know, I can only make them a few at a time, because I'm the only tailor in our family. So for example, I'll show you Jack's jacket. He has the knit sleeves with cinched in wrists, leather elbow pads, so when he bends his elbow, it's got like spikes and leather pads, and it's fabric. Up here in his shoulder, it's leather with these odd little quirky studs, and then across the back, you know, I mean, I put a lot of detail into all of everything, and I put, like, you know, lining of contrasting color or something that is of comparable fabric to the obviously the kind of clothing that it is. So yeah, it'll be one of those items along with the standard item. You're also going to get the same props from the previous tiers, and all of your other previous rewards. Let me just check and make sure that there isn't anything that I'm forgetting from that tier. Oh yes, and once again, just to reiterate, clothing sizes is 65 centimeters to 75 centimeters, because that's what I have the ability to make clothing for, because of the doll sizes that I own. I cannot guarantee a more tailored fit for doll sizes outside of that. But yeah, that wraps up our Patreon tiers. I hope that was helpful. If there's any questions that you guys have, feel free to leave a comment on Patreon or YouTube. That way I can clarify anything if it needs to be clarified. And thank you guys once again for watching and listening.